Hi, my name is Angel True. I'm the owner of Photon Heroes Solar. Over on the side here, I have my sister Aurelia and my colleague Stephen Anthony. They both are working in the business as well. I've been in Reno about 4 years now. Aurelia has been here about 15 years. Stephen is a born and bred native, so we're a very local team here. A few other people that are joining our team right now also have been here for a number of years. The motivation for creating this training is really about after hearing a lot of conversations. I've talked to Ginger a bunch, I've heard a lot of other realtors express a ton of frustration about solar companies and how they treat homeowners. I've witnessed it myself. I've seen people, sales reps try to take advantage. I had one rep once, or one customer once, after I sat down and gave them a presentation. They said, "We have this other quote." And they showed it to me, and it was about the same as what I was showing. They said, but they started off about $14,000 higher. And when we said it looked too high, we knocked 14 grand, which was about 30% of the cost of the system off. He said, why would he do that? I said, because he was trying to rip you off for an extra 14 grand in pure revenue that was totally inappropriate and unnecessary. The original proposal he gave you was just inappropriate and too much money. So part of why we're creating this, especially for realtors, is to help you understand how to buy and sell homes, but really to show you that there are solar reps out there that do have homeowners' best interest in mind. And we want to make sure that you know how to work with us, and we can help your homeowners go solar in a safe way with someone who's actually going to treat them well. So let me take you a little into our company. Our business slogan, stop letting power bills steal your future. I'm going to talk about that in a minute here, but let's see if this will go down. There we go. All right, hallmark of Photon Heroes. So Stephen and I, Stephen started working for me about 4 years ago. We started this company about 4 years ago, went independent about 2 years ago. When we were brainstorming what we wanted to do with the company, we thought, what are our core tenets? What we came down to was honesty, integrity, empathy, and experience. The first two and the last one are pretty straightforward, but the third one, empathy, is what we believe really sets us apart. When we sit down with customers, what we want to do is we have a bunch of questions. And those questions are designed to help us understand who they are and what their needs are. And when we come down to it, we say, okay, based off of all of the things you've just told me, here's what I would do if I were you, or if you were my mom or dad or brother or sister, here's what I would be recommending. What do you want to do? We don't have any sales pressure. We're very much about making sure that they have a decision that makes sense for them, and we've explained why it makes sense. And then just seeing where the cards fall from there. What I usually tell people is the pushiest you will ever see me is just getting you to sit down and listen to me. After that, I'm here to help. I'm here to educate. Simple as that. All right, a little bit about my background. I am the founder and CEO. Really decided I was the epic solar hero the other day, so we're rolling with that. I've been in the business for almost 6 years, 2018. Before that, I was a business and professional coach for 13 years. And I sort of stumbled my way into the solar business through some pretty radical changes. My business partner and I decided that it was time for us to take a break and go get jobs because we were too overwhelmed with life stuff. Within about 3 years, we were both running our own companies again, just because it's in our nature. Spent about 10 years in high tech, graduate of Oregon State, one of those double majors who has two expertise that I've never used professionally ever. When I listen to the radio when they talk about the stock market, and I can tell how much they don't know what they're talking about. All right. A little bit more of our team, obviously Aurelia. Aurelia's a really big focus on our business is building the relationship, whether it's internal or external, with our referral partners or managing our customers. She is exceptional at building connection with people. And so we tend to lean into our strengths there. So we have let her have all of that relationship stuff. Stephen has been with me about 4 of the 6 years I've been in the business. He's an incredible solar rep. He really knows his stuff. I have actually no issues at all when I'm here. Take this customer and just go fix whatever it is they need, get them set up. He does a really good job of that. Andrew is a new rep of ours. He's actually been here for about 5 years, but in 2 weeks he's leaving. and moving to Olympia, Washington. So he's going to be working 100% remote, which is sort of a new movement in the solar business. For a little bit, he's going to be focusing on just doing lead generation for us. And I and eventually Stephen will be able to help sell some of those deals and eventually Aurelia as well.
He knows it's cloudy in Olympia, right?
Yes, he does.
Okay, just check.
Yeah. We don't. Our installer doesn't actually work in Washington or Oregon. I'm from Oregon originally. Just check. This is Celestiala over here. She's our comedic relief.
That's
awesome. Oh, child, you're hysterical. So, Photon Heroes is not just a company, but it's an idea for us. And the idea was exactly what I was explaining earlier. Is we want to be the company that everyone thinks of as the people to trust, the people to listen to, and the people that are there to help. It starts again with just no sales pressure. Do you want an answer? We'll give it to you. Here's some options. What choices do you want? Let's make sure you understand what you think those are, and just walk you through that decision process. If you don't want to work with us, not a problem. If you want to go work with someone else, that's entirely up to you. We believe we're the better choice, but that's really up to you. And what it really starts with is building that relationship. So we focus on your needs and wants and your financial objectives. We have, I don't know, 100 different products that we can use to put solar on your roof. Question is, which one is the right fit for you? We believe in service first. We always do right by you. If we make a mistake, we'll tell you. If it's money, we'll pay you for it. It's as simple as that. We're not going to argue. If we screw it up, we'll take responsibility for it. We do help you break free of the stress of higher power bills. That's, of course, going solar. But mostly, there's a concept in solar called solar bros versus solar pros. Pretty much assess what that means. A lot of the industry has solar bros. They're high pressure, hit it and quit it, get in, get out, make the money and disappear. That is not us. As I told you, we all live here. We want to see you in the grocery store, run into you in yoga class, and we want you to say nice things about us, even if you didn't work with us. And if you don't say nice things about us, it is a failure on our part. We'll do everything we can to make sure that that is still a positive experience for you. All right, this is the part that you guys care about the most. And when I did this class last time, we ran out of time and didn't get to it. So we're talking about it first. How do you buy and sell homes with solar? And these are a few tips that we're going to go over. So if you are on the list side and you're selling the house, the first is call us. Let us assist you in properly valuing the system so that the homeowner is getting the maximum return that they are due. And there's a variety of techniques that we'll talk about a little bit later, but I actually am meeting tomorrow with a colleague who just told me 2 days ago that she was listing a home with solar. I just saw her just before I came here. I said, do you have a strategy for valuing the solar system? She said, no. It's like, okay, so you and I are talking tomorrow to have that plan in place. Since you're listing it, you need it right now. I'm actually going to go home and call her and schedule that appointment tomorrow to sit down with her and tell her, here's the things that I need you to come ready with. If you want us to talk to the buyers, we're happy to do that. You're not paying for our services. We are independent. We're simply here to advise. We will tell them exactly what we tell you. We will not be distinguishing on either side of the conversation. We want them to have the same confidence that you have. We're not going to undercut you either. We're just going to say, look, here's the reality. Here's what we've assessed. Here's what it's worth. What questions do you have? There's a lot of complications sometimes. Do you have a lease on it? Power purchase agreement? Is there a loan still in place? You fully own it? You pay cash? You pay it off? These are all questions that impact how this transaction occurs and what that value is.
Do you do a lot of that?
We're getting into it more, and really, Jim, this is part of this relationship building is I want you to call me and let me help you with that, because I want your sellers to be properly compensated, and I want the buyers to understand the value of what they're buying and make sure that they get it and that it makes sense for them. Or if there's something kind of fishy going on, we can usually figure that out pretty quickly. Yeah. So we definitely want to be doing more of that. And one of the strategies when you're listing is you really want to demonstrate the value. So it starts with showing the utility bills. It starts with showing the contract terms. What you want to demonstrate is here's how much money you're saving based off of however the system is set up. Whether you pay cash for it, or you can have a loan on it, or transfer it, or lease, understanding the value of it. Just helped someone that was here in the last class, and they said that the buyers took one look at the packet we did, and they're like, this is brilliant, this is awesome, I totally understand it. Where do we sign? And that's the value of sitting down with us first.
I saw a lot of homes that have older systems, 10, 15 years, some of them.
Mhm.
Do you also go in and evaluate the system and make recommendations? I mean, I know this a lot, by the time you get to 10 or 15, a lot of that stuff's starting to wear out. Technology's changing dramatically, so
Yeah,
would that be like an inspection you would do with anything else, calling you, come out, and, I mean, I assume you charge and then do evaluation and submit that to buyer or seller?
yes, absolutely. Stephen and I aren't gonna get on a roof, but we can assess everything we need to from the ground.
Do you have a drone?
We do have a drone as well, so if I need to do a visual inspection, I'll get up on it. Not getting on the ladder is just a personal preference. I have friends that have fallen off of roofs, so when I'm dressed like this, I am not prepared to get on a roof. I am not insured for it either. So we can do everything we need to from the ground. We're gonna ask for certain information, either from the seller, or if you're the seller, we're gonna show you what we need to do to look at it to do that.
So evaluating older systems, you have the background for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and there's, the solar systems, even 10, 15 years ago, they're still got good life in them. There's still gonna be another 10, 15 years of life in them. But there are concerns that can be addressed. Inverters have a tendency to fill out. So we may want to look at that, understand where that is. We might say, here's a concession you might want to ask for. Or if there's a warranty on it as well, we'll evaluate that warranty, what company it is. We're pretty familiar with most of the big players in the region. And if we need to, so this homeowner had a Sunrun system, and we had to call Sunrun to get some information, because I very quickly was like, there's some information that's not accurate here, and we need to correct it. So we'll advise you or assist you in doing that.
Just roughly, what do you charge to do all?
Zero.
See that? I don't know how you do that. You got a valuable service there. You can't do that
Can't
stuff
that,
for
you gotta
free.
charge.
Yeah, you got a business opportunity right there, start charging, it. We all need inspections.
People will take you more seriously if you charge.
Okay.
I prefer the free inspection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say it really depends. Our purpose is really to build the relationship with you, the realtor, so that you trust us and thereby your buyer or seller trusts us as well. We're not trying to make a relationship with the homeowner. We want the relationship with you personally. If you want to pay us for that, we'll take your money.
Well, like for me, most of my business is south. You're gonna have travel time.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, yeah, if we're going an hour south or something like that, that might be worth considering. So I'm totally open to considering that. That's absolutely.
Are there any systems you don't want to deal with?
Um,
Reason I ask is because I had one that I had called a few solar companies, and because the one that it installed went out of business.
Mhm.
And I had somebody coming out to inspect it, and they said, oh, that's a Sunny Boy. No, we won't touch it.
Yeah, Sunny Boy's a pretty old inverter. The customer I was just mentioning that had an issue that one of my referral partners said was a Sunny Boy inverter. I'm like, I don't know anything about this. What I did is I sent her to one of my installation colleagues at a different company who I know does service and can deal with that. So sometimes I'm gonna be able to answer questions. Other times I do have relationships with other installers that I can call in and say, I don't even know what I'm looking at. You tell me. I'm not an electrician. I'm not an installer. I'm a sales rep. So some of the stuff I do know, some of the stuff I don't know, but I have those connections locally where I can get that assistance if I need it.
Our concern is peace of mind for either our listing side or like.
Absolutely.
Getting a call later, 2 weeks later, a month later, so.
No.
What I find is storage. Storage is a big issue on most of these older units.
Yes, storage and the inverters on those units that are 10, 15 years old, especially the Sunny Boy, when they're single inverters, not mini inverters that are on each panel, but those do tend to go out around 10, 12, 15 years. So the customer that I had that was just talking to, the system was installed in 2007. She's like, oh, there's a problem on it. I'm like, it's probably not working. That's probably the problem. So I just sent her to my installation partner that could fix it, because I can't do the repair myself. But I can get that connection for you.
Okay.
So on the buying side, and this is of course where you are, before you have transaction to purchase from it, there's information that we want from the homeowner. The same information we want to provide as the seller that creates that value assessment. We want to see the power bills so that we can understand it is in fact working and what it's doing, what level of power bill is left. We want to see production reports, which is the system data that will show us how much energy is being produced over a period of time. That lets us assess, is the system working to expectations or not? One of the things that we can talk about on the concession side, and of course this depends on the transaction, but if it's a lease or a power purchase agreement, you might want to ask for 1 or 2 years of payments up front. That's a potential seller concession that you can ask for. It's also something that you can offer on the buyer, on the seller side. Again, depends on the market. It's not always going to work for every transaction. If we're in the seller's market, you're not going to get that. But it's something to think about as a possibility. We also want to know, was the tax credit applied? Do we have the original contract? Do we still have the monitoring stuff that's going to help us know what's actually happening? So especially with these older systems, like you were saying, Jim, some of those companies don't exist anymore, so we have to kind of dig for it.
Coincidentally enough, that system was only installed 4 years ago. It's a Sunny Boy. Right.
4 years ago,
And that, does that mean that they were using obsolete equipment?
not necessarily. It means they weren't using the dominant equipment that is in the market today. SolarEdge and Enphase microinverters are the two most dominant inverters. They have the largest market share in the industry. But there are other brands out there. It doesn't mean they're bad. They're just not the dominant companies in the industry. So Sunny Boy's not a bad inverter. I just don't see them anymore. And they were more common on some of the older systems. A lot of old Solar City and Tesla systems out there, especially in this area. We usually know any of them that have that beveled edge on the panels. Those are Solar City systems.
Are they still, Tesla's still doing that?
Tesla is still doing it a little bit, but they have radically reduced their footprint for solar installations. They're doing a lot less of it. They are slowly exiting the industry.
Really? I was just curious, 'cause my neighbor did it 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, Tesla also notoriously has very bad customer service.
I think you're right there.
Yeah. So whether we're on the selling side or the buying side, there's different information that we might want to provide and ask for. Call us, we'll walk you through that process and making sure that you understand how to do that presentation. Questions, any more questions about buying and selling?
If you were to look at my and Marie's report, be able to tell us if we're getting maximum usage out of our systems.
That's part of one of the things that Stephen and I and Aurelius learning is very quickly we can assess the operation capacity of the system, whether it's working properly or not. And every homeowner should have that data, and if they don't have that data, that's a big red flag. Or we can work with them to get it resolved by going directly to the installer or the manufacturer of the system. All right. Talk a little bit about solar in Nevada. So last time I did this presentation, did a little research for a bunch of numbers. We got about 1.1 million homes in Nevada. About 9.5%, about 110,000 have solar installations. That's as of, I think, the end of 2023. So notice that right now, that third line, we're at 23% of the state's electricity. You look over on the right on this graphic, this is from 2020 when I arrived in Reno, solar was 14%. We've grown about 64% in 4 years. And we expect to triple that number in the next 5. That's how rapidly we're growing. We are number 6 for the number of for the number of systems installed in the US. And we are number 5 for the single best location for solar productivity. A big deal of that is that we're at 4,500-foot elevation in Midtown and everything's up from there. UV rays is what powers that electricity. More electricity from the same amount of sunshine. Same reason we get sunburned here a heck of a lot faster than we do at sea level. That all make sense? Okay. So bottom line, solar is an exploding market. When I moved here in 2020, there were about 8 solar companies. There's close to 70 now operating in the area. And a bunch of those are out-of-state organizations. Okay, the market itself is huge. There's 130 million odd homes in the US. 90 million of them are eligible for solar. Only 3.5 million have gone solar. So the market is huge. And with the market pressures happening right now, with inflation, with energy prices going up, the big push towards renewable energy is seen across the country. Here in Nevada, we have to be 50% renewable power by the year 2030, which is only 6 years away. And 100% by the year 2050?
2050, yeah.
2050. And that same mandate is all across the US. It's state by state, but every state has some requirement like that. So the shift to distributed power, especially home residential solar, is massive and it's going to continue to accelerate. More and more homeowners are going solar every single year. Prices are also coming down, which is a huge value that as electricity rates go up and prices drop, that gap becomes more and more obvious and it becomes a more and more obvious economical decision.
Would you, on your, with like you said in the package, say 2,000 square foot home, blah, blah, blah. What kind of recapture are you looking at? It used to be 7, 8 years. Is it still roughly like that?
It really depends on how you go about it. Are you doing a lease or a power purchase agreement or a finance agreement, or did you pay cash? It depends on everything. I would say off the top of my head, if we do a finance agreement, a loan, we're typically looking at a break even today, and in 1 to 2 years, you're saving money, if not within the year. Our power rates have gone up pretty dramatically here in the Nevada region. I'll have a slide a little bit later. I'll show you how radical our rates have gone up. The first system I sold while I was here, a woman named Cookie up in Cold Springs, her power bill is half of what it would be had she not gone solar in just 4 years. So it's huge. It's hard to come up with those generalizations because there's a lot of factors that go into it too. Oh, here it is, very next slide. So a couple of myths. Solar costs too much. So like I said, our objective if we're doing a finance package or even a lease or a power purchase agreement is to do what we call a bill swap. We want that payment to look very similar to, if not lower than your current power bill. With interest rates having gone up in the last couple of years, the loans are a little harder to match it there. We'll break even rather than save, but with the leases or power purchase agreements, we're somewhere between $10 and $30 cheaper typically. There's pros and cons of both of those. I'll go into those in a minute here. But you can see over the last 4 years, our power rates have gone up no less than 14% per year. So since 2019, we are now 90% higher than our electrical bill was in 2019. So is solar worth it? Hell yeah. But it's not an upfront savings, it's a long-term savings. We do have zero down financing options. Again, we've got 100 different ways to pay for it. It depends on what the right choice is for you. Whether you want that higher payment up front so you can pay it off faster, or you want to have a lower payment for longer. Are we looking at budget planning? Are we looking at total ROI? What's the objective? And then we'll advise you on what we think is the best option for you. Myth number two, the technology will be better in a few years. So this is a really good question. Year over year, there's some fairly marginal improvement. When we look 10 years out, obviously the systems look a lot bigger. When I started in the business 6 years ago, we were selling 250 watt panels. Now we're selling 425 watt panels. That doesn't mean that 250 watt panels weren't cost effective. It just means that the car has better gas mileage now than it did 6 years ago. Simple as that. So it's just like a vehicle. Just because you bought a car 10 years ago doesn't make it obsolete. It has served you for 10 years. Same with the solar system. When we build the system, you have a very clear picture of what that savings profile looks like over time. And as rates go up faster, it just looks better.
Rates are going up now in Washington County. They just voted to raise it.
Yeah, so
Do you
when
know what the percentage is?
I don't off the top of my head, I haven't looked at the latest PUC. But what I can tell you is industry-wide, we used to say that rates were going up about 4%. This was back in 2018. 3 years ago, that number industry-wide was revised to 6% because the power rates were simply going up more every year. At that point, there was enough history and enough projection to say 4% is no longer the rate increase. It's 6%, and that's nationwide. Here in Nevada, as that last slide showed, we're double that. We're more than double that. So the technology, we get a little bit better. Regardless, you have a 30-year warranty. Anybody ever bought a car with a 30-year warranty? No, I mean, this is the most durable piece of equipment you'll ever buy. These panels are practically indestructible. I've seen people, there was the first installer I worked for had a panel in the back, a warehouse that had cracked glass and it looked like a spider, it looked like something had hit it from the back. And what I learned was that someone had accidentally shot their revolver through the roof into the back of the panel and shattered the glass, but didn't actually penetrate the panel. That was a crazy story. These things are pretty durable though. But that 30-year warranty, short of a plane falling on them or a tree falling on them, which we don't have a lot of happening here in the Reno area, these panels are gonna outlast you in the house in most cases.
It's more about the technology becomes the Achilles heel, right?
Yeah, and 10 years ago, that technology had some more flaws in it. The technology today, it's like, it's good for 30 to 40 years. We're warranting it for 30 years.
Even the storage, because I've always understood that the storage is the weak link.
The storage is the weak link. So the storage does not have the 30-year warranty. It typically has a 10 or a 15-year warranty from the manufacturer. So the extended warranty we sell does not cover storage. And that is, you are correct, the weak link. Most homeowners here in Nevada don't buy storage. We don't sell it all that often anymore.
You lose power, you just lose power.
Exactly. This is the one that you guys care about. Myth number 3, it's hard to sell your house with solar. So as these rates go up, the real value of what the solar system is the amount of dollar value of electricity that you have offset. Well, your power bills are relatively consistent year over year unless you do things like buy an EV, add a hot tub, put a pool in, or expand your house. But 4 years ago, electricity was 7 cents a kilowatt. Now it's closer to 15. Do the math. Same amount of power, but twice the cost. So the real value of the system to the homeowner has increased year over year. Obviously, it's a durable piece of equipment, so the resale value does decline over time. And that's where that math calculation and assessment comes in and why you want us to come help you with that process. There are about, Stephen and I were talking about this the other day, there's like 10 different factors that are going to help us assess what the actual value of the system is. It's not a simple formula. So it's a variety of factors, including the warranty and the equipment that's on the roof and how old the system is. So these are all important factors. I'm going to talk about the Nevada Solar Disclosure Form in a minute. And really, again, goes back to the core tenet again, is demonstrate the value to the homeowner, so that when you have someone looking at the house to buy it, they're gonna be like, yeah, we understand that this makes sense for us, what the real value is for us. And number 4, which goes right into our storage conversation here, solar doesn't work if the grid goes down. Yes, that is true. When the power is off, you don't have power unless you have a battery. Now, here in Nevada, as you mentioned, we don't get power outages a whole bunch. Two winters ago, we did have that major power outage for about 4 days, or about a third of the city didn't have power for an extended period of time. There were some pros and cons to that. The reason it happened is we had a very wet, very heavy snowstorm, and then the temperature dropped to 20 degrees for a week and a half. So I actually had 3 customers that their solar system and batteries stopped working. And it took until the 3rd person asking me before I went, wait a minute, what's going on here? Something happened. Had thick snow that was about, about 4, 5, 6 inches deep. Very wet, it's about 33 degrees when it snowed. And then overnight, it dropped to 20 degrees and everything froze. So instead of that snow melting off the panels like it usually does with our dry snow, it was ice. The panels were coated, they weren't producing any electricity, and ultimately the battery ran out of juice. But if we have batteries, we can typically get through that, the snow will melt off, and then we become basically self-sustaining. But with batteries, we're only backing up somewhere between 3 and 5 circuits on average per battery. We do have some newer technology that's actually really cool that gives us whole home backup, but we're still selecting what to turn on and what to turn off. So we're never saying everything can power and you're going to use it all you want. If I do that, I have to put so much battery storage on there that we don't look at the price tag and be like, there's just no logic to this whatsoever from the beginning.
Can you set the system up so you can also have a generator backup, so you could be plugged in? So say if you don't spend the money for the battery backup, the generator would, I mean, I don't know much about electricity. I know,
Yeah.
I know it'll kill me. That's what I know.
Good thing to know about electricity, yeah. When it comes down to the wiring, yes, it is absolutely possible to have a generator back up your power, your solar system. If you don't have storage, you're not going to use a generator to charge the battery. The generator technology is usually doesn't get clean enough electricity to charge a battery. There are 1 or 2 batteries out there that I'm familiar with that do allow that. I don't have access to them at the moment, and they're pretty spendy. Usually we want to pick one or the other, battery or generator. And if we do a generator, we have to do some very specific things in the electric box to have that be an option, but it's not difficult to accomplish at all. I have a couple of electricians I would send out and say like, here's what they need. And they're like, yep, we got it, no problem. So, and there are some programs where I think I saw an article about San Diego just passed a new law that people with batteries can become a virtual solar plant. So when there is a need for electricity, the utility pays them to draw down on their batteries. So batteries can become sources of revenue, not just a cost or a backup. That's in the future, it's beginning to take hold. That's a conversation that's happening across the utility industry. San Diego is the first place I've seen actually put that into play. But it's a big topic of conversation right now. Question about that?
I was just wondering, a brownout situation or a total power out? Because like 2 Januaries ago, I was out for almost a week and a half.
Yeah, it would be a brownout situation. If it's a total power out, then your battery's powering your house.
So you can't have both, have what you have now and then have that too, and use that. And then when you gotta go full bore on the panels and everything. Once you get it all installed and everything.
So both what? Which one are you
Well, I
referring
mean, you know, like now I don't have panels up there and stuff like that, and things work pretty good, but
Mhm.
I mean, I guess if your power's out, then it's out, so it's gonna be out too, if you have the panels up there.
Yeah, so if you don't have battery storage, when the power goes out, your power goes out. And there's a reason for that. It's a safety mechanism. With solar, we're feeding electricity back on the grid. When the power's out, people are touching the lines to fix them. We like to not electrocute the linesmen repairing the system. So it's a very specific safety mechanism why it stopped working. There used to be some technology. One of the inverter companies had a technology, what they called sunlight backup, which is you had partial power during the day when the power was out. It didn't prove out very well and they stopped selling it. But it's something that could happen in the future. But the
How long do
easier
your
is,
batteries last, like a couple of days or?
it depends on what we're backing up.
Oh.
So typically what we back up here in Nevada is the furnace. Because we don't want you to freeze in the summer, we're not gonna back up, or we don't want you to freeze in the winter time, we're not gonna back up to AC because that's gonna kill your battery in a matter of a couple of hours. The refrigerator, so your furnace, your refrigerator, and a few light circuits. That's what we're backing up. So that it's livable, but not full power. Now I can put three, four batteries on and have you have availability to run anything you want, but you're not going to do it all the time, all at once, like you would when the power's on. So we have a limited capacity. So during the day, the batteries are going to recharge. At night, we're going to drain them. If we design the system properly, that should be a continual cycle for the power we have available. Now, maybe on December 24th, that might not work so well because the sun's not up and it's storming. But the rest of the time it's gonna work pretty good. Right. Okay, you ready for a little solar 101 to answer the basics of how solar works?
Mhm.
Okay. So it's really simple. The sun comes down, hits our photovoltaic panels. They generate a DC current electricity. That electricity runs through, come over here and point a little bit. Well, the panels generate electricity. They run through an inverter, whether it's a single string inverter on the side of the house or microinverters on the side of on the back of each panel. That comes into your electric meter and the electricity does one of a couple of things. If it's daytime and you're using electricity, it goes into the house and you use as much of the electricity as you can. If you're producing more electricity than you're using, the first thing it'll do is it'll charge the battery if you have one present and it needs it. And if not, it'll send it back to the grid. And then the third thing that happens is at night or when you're using more electricity than you're generating, you're going to pull electricity from the grid. That all make sense? That simple. Solar is really that simple. The implementation of it is obviously a bit more complex, but that's the basics of how solar works.
That process is called net metering. Just refer to it quickly, the process of the power going in and out of the grid. And the meter having a net value back and forth, that's net metering.
Thank you, Stephen. So net metering is the process by which we send electricity back to the utility and we use that to discount the electricity we pull from the utility when we're not generating enough electricity from the solar system.
You know, in the past, there was a lot of issues with that, with bad energy and stuff. Has that kind of been resolved or that could happen again?
Are you referring
How far
to?
ago? It's 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, so back in 2014, NV Energy pulled a fast one. And they said, hey, we're gonna cut the value of that electricity down to basically nothing.
Right.
And solar homeowners said, not so fast. They took them to court, they won. And then the court said, okay, state legislature, right along, put it in place. And what that is the net metering program we have now. NV Energy has no authority to change it at all. It is now locked in place by the state legislature by law. So NV Energy can't sneak around. Now, there's one proposal that they have tried recently. Instead of that $16.50 base service charge, they're trying to jump it to $40.
Just heard that this morning.
I don't think it's passed, but they have proposed it and it's being argued against. My personal opinion, and I could be wrong, is that it won't pass. The simple argument is it hurts low income and low volume homeowners and renters. Is now it's more expensive for poor people and people who don't use much electricity in favor of rich people and people who use a lot of electricity. And what they would do is they would jump that fixed cost and lower the rate of electricity per kilowatt hour, but it's not going to balance out for everyone.
Do they pay more or less depending on the energy demand? I mean, I know there's times a day when energy is there's high and low, there's peaks and valleys in the consumption, so I would assume that the amount of juice you're using is changing, so is it a flat rate or is it?
Most
is there
of
an
Nevada,
algorithm for it?
yeah, most of Nevada is on what's called a fixed rate plan, which it doesn't matter if it's 3 AM or 2 PM, it's the same cost. There is a time of use rate plan where at night it's extremely cheap. During the peak hours of, what is it now, 3 to 9 PM?
Yeah, they just updated it for the summer.
Yeah, 3 to 9, it used to be 1 to 6 PM, but now it's 3 to 9 PM. It's like 50, 30 cents now, well, it's 56, they changed the whole plan around last year. But yes, there is a plan called time of use where it's low at night, low during the early day, and high in the evening. We don't advise people to use that plan. I've had a couple of my solar customers try it. I actually just talked to one the other day who said, ND Energy guarantees that savings the first year. He got a check for $400 back because he overpaid for electricity on that plan. Was like, nope, get off of that plan right now. He's like, already did. So it exists. It's all of California uses that model. It's not economical here for us in Nevada.
I mean, right, I think probably because us in Arizona, in a lot of places, even during the day, with when it's hot, the AC is what's driving them.
Yeah.
That's what's really pulling them, right?
So it exists, almost no one is on it.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions about Solar 101? Okay. So I kind of gave this slide away already, but this is an example of a post-solar power bill. So the blue is the electricity pulled from the grid. The orange is the electricity sent to the grid. And this is, like I said, electricity flows one of three ways. It's either consumed in the home, it's returned to the grid, or it's pulled from the grid. It's really simple. So here's how the net metering program works. So in July, this customer used, let's call it 294 kilowatt hours, and they sent 662 kilowatt hours. That difference, about 360, almost 70 kilowatt hours, that's the net metered amount. So they got a credit of $40 and they have a carryover of $178. So on the next power bill, any electricity that's used is taken out of this credit first. In these months, there would be a positive amount consumed, and that's where this credit would come in to offset that power bill. So we build the system so that over the course of a year, we bring the cost as close to zero as we can. And again, that depends on the house, depends on the consumption level. The other thing to keep in mind is when we build the system, we build it to what your historical usage is. And one of the first things Stephen and I ask is, are you adding an electric vehicle? Are you thinking about a hot tub or a pool? Are you building an extension? I just sold a system the other day where I noticed a large jump in their main power bill. I was like, what happened? Said, oh, someone moved into our mother-in-law units in the back and it's all electric heat. Okay, well, let's build the system for that if that's the long-term expectation, which it was. So we had to adjust what we were doing because the historical information would not be their future.
Can you expand as you go? If you've got a system that's relatively new, can you add 2 more panels if need be?
Yes and no, and it depends how we design the system. So that particular system, I was going to use the solar street inverter. And when that conversation came up, I switched it over to the Enphase microinverters because they're much easier to expand by a couple of panels. So it is possible. You're going to pay cash when we do that. And typically the installer that did the original system will be the only one that will touch it. Otherwise, we'll just build essentially a parallel system next to it, which we can totally do. It's not a problem. And as one of the quirks of the industry, installers don't like touching other people's systems because if they do and something happens with the system, that installer is saying, you voided the warranty, it's your responsibility now. So we want to be careful of that, which is why extended warranties are so much superior, in my opinion, because they are usually installer independent. As long as it's a licensed installer, they can do the work on the system under the extended warranty. Doesn't matter who the original installer was. or if they're even still around anymore.
So parallel system, I've got 3 clients that have solar and they've just added big shops and they want to put solar in their shops, but they can't expand their system. So they would probably want to do another system on the shop. Just
Yeah, and we still have to tie it into the house at the same meter point.
Okay.
But if we have enough roof space on the house, we would build it right next to it. We can do it on the shop, but we're gonna have to trench from there to the meter. And we can absolutely help that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. we can help. And that's a great example of, hey, I put the system on 10 years ago and now I built this 3,000 square foot shop, but my bill jumps $100. Yeah, let's solve that problem. So this is actually the system I sold just Tuesday morning, actually. So 11.9 kilowatt system. I built it for 150% offset. The net meter program here is a 75% monetized version. So for every kilowatt hour, we get 75 cents on the dollar cost of the electricity, which means we typically build our systems around 110 to 120% to account for that difference. In this case, I don't have the power bill to show you, but their May bill doubled from last year. I was like, what's going on? It took them a few minutes to remember that people had just moved in to that ADU. So we made a rough calculation and said, let's just dump another 40% on top of that. And then I switched from Solar Edge to Enphase in case I have to extend it next year. For exactly that concern. Because if I'm using a string inverter, it has a maximum capacity, but microinverters are virtually infinite. Yeah, I can put another 16 panels on that system without having to touch the inverter system. I don't know where I'll put the panels, but I have an option. Yeah, it's going to be on the north side, which is not my preferred side, but it's still a reliable option. It's enough west facing. So they're producing 18,538 kilowatt hours, 28 panels. These are the Jinko 425 watt black on black panels. This is not the same system.
So what other panels do you only do Jinko? Do you do other panels?
No, there's so many panels on the market.
Yeah.
We usually have access to 3 or 4 different panels at a time, kind of changes. There's 2 panels we always have. The REC panels, which are a premium panel, it's like the Lexus of solar panels. Their big deal is they have a wind and snow load warranty, which we just don't, unless you're up at the lake, we don't have that issue here. But if I was doing it up at the incline, I would definitely be using REC. They also have a slightly higher total lifetime production. Solar panels are measured in what's called a degradation rate. So every year they lose a little bit. Most panels are around 0.5% a year. RECs are about 0.3%. So over the life of the system, you're going to get more electricity out of it, and you pay for that. It's a great panel. In my entire career, I've sold them twice, and they specifically asked for it. Like, okay, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. The Hanwha Q cells is like your Honda of panels. It's a great panel. It's very affordable. They're very durable. That's what we sell most of the time. The Jinkos are a slightly less expensive panel, and it's most of what I do here in Reno because it's a cost thing. Their performance is on par with the Q cells. Why pay them for the same performance? That's my philosophy. But it's the RECs and the Q cells we always have. They are always in stock everywhere. They're always available. Canadian Solar, I've used Z and Shine, the Jinko panels.
Got a couple of others as well. There's slipping my mind, but yeah, the number, it's about what can be acquired in the market pricing. And
Yeah.
that's fluctuating all the time. We're going to recommend basically for your situation, most of the time it's, you want the best budget one because they perform at tier 1. All panels we sell are tier 1 panels too. So they meet all the standards for fire tests, wind tests, all that stuff. And degradation, like you mentioned, usually it's 0.5% a year. So any panel we have is going to be very good performing, but in some situations we would recommend the RECs or maybe something else. So, but you'll have your choice. If you really want a specific one, we can do that too. But
Yeah, the installer we used to work for had different access. The company that we install with now is a very large company. They've been 31,000 installs over the last 7 years. And they have incredible buying power, so they're able to negotiate really good deals. So sometimes we get a set of panels that's like, okay, the next 1,000, systems can use this, and then we're out of stock because we bought, 50,000 panels and now we've used them. So we have that ability to buy in bulk for rather inexpensive prices. So sometimes we have a one-off. It's like, this is an awesome panel, sell it.
What's the runtime for install?
Here in the Reno market, somewhere between 2 and 6 months. And the big time sink is the permit. Depends on what jurisdiction you're in. I did one up in Cold Springs that ran through Washington County, and that permit took a year, which is ridiculous. I've had permits come in as fast as 2 weeks. Down in Vegas, they install them in 30 days from contract signing.
Yeah, I've heard it. NV Energy can be the anchor.
Yeah,
too.
so there's two holdups. It's the permit design and approval, and sometimes they'll run us around and make requirements. I had them ask us once for a UL listing that didn't say California. I was like, UL listings are international standards. There's no California and Nevada and Israel. They're all the same, but they saw the word California on it and they got bent out of shape. Basically wiped it out and resubmitted it. And that's literally all we did. Like, why does this matter? It has the exact same technique. So the permit department does ridiculous things like that. NV Energy can take anywhere from 3 weeks to 2 months to decide they want to approve it. And they have this whole other approval process. We're really good at navigating these, but when they get that wild hair going, we're at their mercy.
Well, that's just because their technology, a lot of their technology, like where I live, I've got a can on the pole outside my house, and it's had a warning light on it for 10 years. They said, oh, they'll change it when it blows.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what
Okay.
they're doing.
So if I want to get solar, are they gonna require that I would change out that transformer? Is that gonna be on me?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what we do in that particular case is we would have our installer commit immediately to NV Energy for approval, and we would have that answered real fast. We still have to sign the contract and get the process started, but there's no money out of your pocket on that. And we can assess that and say yes or no. And it sometimes that's a deal killer. I've had customers where they're like, well, you got to upgrade the transformer and that's $10,000. Like that.
That's cheap. That's probably closer to 20 now, because there's like 5 houses on that
Oh,
transformer.
yeah, absolutely. So I don't know the answer, but we'll find out.
So is there a way around? There's probably not a way around that unless you go straight battery, right? You don't hook into the.
Well, you have to hook into the grid.
Mhm.
You want to hook into the grid. If not, I have to build a system twice as large with.
Well, I mean, I'm on it. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Just, it's for me, it's every time I deal with Douglas County or NV Energy, it's like pulling teeth.
It absolutely is. That's why you let us work with them and we'll get those answers for you.
And I also think in the energy, I don't think they're allowing people to go off the grid, correct?
Yeah, so it's this interesting law, and this is pretty much across the state. If you're already connected to the utility, you must stay connected to the utility. You can make an argument for it, but it's this ridiculous process. Also, I have to build a substantially larger system. So if we're after the savings and economic value, it doesn't make sense. I can build that system for you so that you are functionally off grid, but you're not saving any money. So it depends on what your objective is. If your
I
objective is.
don't necessarily want to be off grid. I just,
Right.
it irks me to have to deal with idiots.
We appreciate the quiet. man. The energy and the-
Sorry.
I can't tell you how many times I have had conversations with people on my team or other people and what you want to be true and the reality are not the same. And I feel ya, because I've been there. But we can figure it out. No problem. All right, so this is just a system that is just an example of how net metering works. And this is a fairly typical example. So in Nevada, we have what we call a double dip. So typically our winter is higher and our summer is higher. And our spring and fall, our electric usage is a lot lower, but spring and fall is where we have that maximum credit getting built up. That helps us offset that summer bill and gets us through the winter. The net metering program runs April 1st through March 31st. You can see that starting in March, we're usually excess producing. That's a little unique for Nevada. Most places it starts in April. All right, this is another big question that comes up a lot. Is there a lien on the property when you have a solar system with a finance product? The technical answer is no. What you have is a UCC non-fixture filing, and it is a functionally different legal document than the tax lien. The tax lien is attached to the property and the property value itself. The UCC1 filing is attached to the solar system on the roof or in the ground mount in the backyard. Solar financing is technically unsecured financing, although it's attached to the physical product. There's not a resale market for used solar equipment. So they're setting that there as a legal mechanism to claim value, because they're not going to come and rip it off and go sell it at the dealer down the road.
So what do you file that with Secretary of State, since it's a UCC?
Yeah, it's filed with the county, same as a tax lien. It's just not the same as a tax lien. Yeah, it's a personal property. Now the challenge can be, and I've had people run into this, is that when we go to refinance the home, they run up against this, and the lender says, well, you can't refinance, you have a UCC1 filing. You just call the lender who has the solar loan, and they go, no problem, we'll temporarily take it off, finish your refinance, and we'll put it back on when you're done. They're very, very comfortable with this. They understand that. They don't want to be a hindrance to homeowners doing what they want to do with their property.
Just like a homestead.
Yeah, so it's not a problem at all. You just have to work with the lender. They may charge you a fee, $250. Sometimes they don't at all. They're like, whatever, just do it. You know, we'll give you a window of time to complete that, and we're good. We'll put it back on. Okay. So let's get into the different ways. This is a system I installed up in, that's in Spanish Springs. Joe system, right?
Yeah.
So when you are purchasing a system, whether you're doing cash or loan, you have the federal tax credit. So 30% of the cost of the system you get as a tax credit, not an income deduction, but a tax credit. Trust you all know the difference on that, right?
It's better.
Okay. I know we have an educated audience here, so I won't go into that. When I'm sitting down with homeowners, I always want to make sure they understand it because it has an impact on how the financing works. The solar system adds resale value to the home, but it does not impact the property tax value because it is a fixture, not an expansion of the home. So their tax bill won't change. But when you guys get ready to sell their house, absolutely we want to capture that value. We have zero down options loans from 5 years to 30 years. Most solar loans, the ones that we sell at least, are transferable. That's going to be in a scenario where you're selling to a relative, transferring it to the kids or an uncle or whatever, and you don't want, you're selling it for, I don't know how you guys do it, but when you're selling a home to a relative, maybe you're just transferring it, the home's already paid off. We don't want to recoup the value, we just want to transfer the utility value of it. So you can transfer it. In most scenarios, you want to sell the system to the new homeowner as part of the purchase price. You pay the financing off, they now own it for you. But
Can you use it as a buyer credit, as a write-off when you're on the other side of your sale? If you're giving it to the buyer, it's kind of like a self-concession.
now you're talking realtor language that I'm not
All
super
right,
familiar with.
sorry.
Ginger, do you have an opinion on that?
I'm sorry, I missed that, sorry. What did you say?
I was wondering if you just say, if I'm selling my home and I just say I owe 20,000 on it, if I just transfer that to the seller, could that be considered a seller credit?
Because even not,
It's just like helping with their loan or
yeah,
anything else, right?
yeah.
My help
Yeah,
now with the
sort of.
buyer's commissions changing next week for 2 weeks time.
What's that?
You know, the buyer's commissions are changing in 2 weeks' time, so it might even help with that.
We're all pretty clear on that.
Yeah, but if someone's coming up, I suppose already and negotiate 6% on an FHA buy side, your set of concession can't be higher than 6%, so.
Great question. I know nothing on this topic. I'll leave it to you guys. So most of the loans are transferable. Right now in Nevada, we're about a third. Cash purchases, loan purchases, and power purchase agreements. I'm gonna talk about what a power purchase agreement is. Right on the, almost next slide.
I do have a question just for, also the realtors here. So you'd mentioned the dollar for dollar value of the solar system.
Mhm.
If we are listing homes with solar systems and it's two exact same houses next to each other, and the one is solar, the other one not. I don't know if we're gonna be listing at dollar for dollar, the value of what that system costs.
It's gonna fall on the appraisers.
The
They're ones-
appraisers
They're the
are
ones gonna be
giving
scratching
value
their heads on
to-
that one.
Yeah, it's our job to educate the appraisers, which is where Angel comes in with their, their evaluation of the system. To educate them, because some of them don't even get on the roof, some of them won't even notice.
Yeah, it's paid opinion of value. You give me an opinion of value on that system for its age and its output and everything else. That's gold to go to the
Yeah.
appraiser with. You give that to them when they show up to the house.
And as Ginger said, that's where we come in, is to help you. Because you don't have control over the appraiser, and you can't tell them what to do. You can only just say, here's information, please think about it.
And they
And
love that.
if you have an independent solar company like mine, who says this is the value, that will carry some weight with them, hopefully. I got a few more pieces in here, I'll show you.
What do you believe your ROI is on a $20,000 system? 50%, 30%?
Over what period of time? Over 25 years, you're gonna save anywhere.
No,
from
I'd say
20
10, 5 to 10.
If you
That's
look at
what-
it from a budget perspective, if you have a loan payment, we can do that math real easy. How much is your power bill without it versus how much is the loan payment? So it depends on how we pay for the system.
Yeah, because we're gonna be appreciating the system, not appreciating it.
And the electric rate has gone up, so there's a number of factors that play in there. How fast did the electricity rates go up too? And that's what we're predicting in the future. We can only assess so much. You know, if you had told people 10 years ago that their power bill was going to double, they would have laughed at you. Now I have data that proves it. Over 4 years, it doubled. Okay.
And so what you're hearing with all the data centers coming in, there's a crush for power, so they're gonna be pushing hard to
Yep.
get as many
Absolutely.
residences on solar as they can.
Absolutely. So when we sell a system, a purchase system, we include a 30-year warranty, covers all parts, labor, roof penetrations, no deductible, no out-of-pocket expenses, it's completely covered. Any system issues other than physical damage to the panels themselves. Okay, but is it an in-house or an extended warranty? I touched on that briefly. So some of you have heard that Titan went out of business recently. They had a 25-year in-house warranty. No one's warranty carried through. The company doesn't exist anymore. We sell an extended warranty, which is an outside company that if the installer goes away, the warranty survives. Okay. How long is the warranty? What's included? Labor coverage. These are all questions to ask, especially when we're assessing an existing system. All right, leases and PPAs. Leases and PPAs it's just like leasing a car. You don't own it, you're not going to get the equity value of it. So it makes sense in limited circumstances. The circumstances where we switch to talking about a lease or a PPA is lower income, where they're not going to be able to recoup the tax credit. So with a lease or a PPA, we don't have to do that. People who are older and don't necessarily want to take that debt out, transfer it, but they want to see a larger upfront savings now, especially people on a fixed income, we can show them an immediate saving rather than in a couple of years. The other time is when people just sometimes don't want to take the loan out. They just want to get some savings out of it. The savings from a lease or a power purchase agreement is not as large as a purchase system, so it's a very different ROI calculation. And when they go to sell the home, they're not selling the value of the system, they're just transferring the system. Very important distinction for leases and PPAs. In a lease, the terms of the agreement are technically you are leasing the equipment. In a power purchase agreement, the installer becomes your power provider, so it's a power bill. And this is why it matters. When they go to sell the home, the buyer has to qualify for the home value or the loan value plus the lease payment. That changes their DTI calculation. But the power purchase agreement is just a power bill. So we only sell power purchase agreements. The costs, the numbers are going to look the same, but when it comes to selling the house, the buyer is going to qualify for more home. And that becomes very important. It can be a roadblock to people purchasing the home.
Especially in an HOA or something too.
Yeah, HOAs are not a problem here in
I
Nevada.
mean, as far as you gotta qualify for the loan, you gotta add your
Right.
HOA fees on, and you're gonna have to have the power.
Correct, right. So for that fee. So exactly, just like the HOA fee becomes part of that DTI, then add the lease on top of that. With a power purchase agreement. So we only sell power purchase agreements here for exactly that reason. The other value of a power purchase agreement is you can buy it out after a certain period of time, which has a value to it. Especially when you're selling the home. You can be like, we just want to buy it. Well, do that. There's also no UCC1 filing because the homeowner doesn't own the property. Not their property. It's really easy to transfer them, not a problem, just transfer the thing. So this is one example, comes with a 25-year warranty. Because the leasing company owns it, they basically warranty and guarantee their system to remain functional for the length of the loan. Okay, how many of you have seen this solar disclosure form? A couple of key pieces of information where it asks for the name of the solar system provider, that middle section at the top. You actually want the lender or leasing company. I don't care who put it on the roof. They don't have anything to do with it anymore, most of it. It was a local installer who sold on behalf of Sunrun or SunPower or SunGage. Or once the system is installed under a lease, under a purchase or a cash deal, unless they have a warranty on it, they don't have anything to do with it. So you want to know who the lender or leasing company is, the length of whatever warranty is remaining, and if they have a battery, what circuits are active. That information is not on this form, so make sure you get that. Now, the question of is solar worth it, and the ROI question. So there have been dozens of studies over the last 15 years on solar, and basically every single one of them says the same thing. Solar is worth it. And when it comes to selling the home, you're going to recoup some value off of it. In many cases, you're actually going to make a little bit of money. Just like selling a car. You drive a car, you pay it off for 3 years, and you sell it. What you owe and what the car is worth are different numbers.
The difference is that the value's typically gonna be much better reselling the solar than a car now, so.
Yeah.
Important to keep in mind.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Solar retains its resale value better than anything I've ever witnessed. With the 25 to 30 year system. All right, so getting into how to demonstrate it, there is a company called Pearl Certification that they will do an appraisal institute report, which you can hand to the appraiser and they are required to legally look at because it's their form. It will not tell them a dollar value, but it will describe the system itself. That is in addition to whatever report we help you put together. What you want to do, like we've talked about, show their production report, show the power bills with the solar credits, show the original contract price release, and work with a skilled appraiser. I know you guys can't select your appraisers, but you can do everything possible to educate them. So we have you put together a report for them. Okay, as I said, we are independent power consultants. I selected power for a very specific reason. As a business coach, I taught sales, marketing, customer service. I've been in sales and customer service my entire adult life. I taught business strategy. I have incredibly high ethical standards. It's the way I created Photon Heroes. Power meets or exceeds every expectation I have when it comes to customer service. One of the things I have discovered in working with the people at Power is no matter what problem I bring to them, whether it's a little thing on this one proposal or this big issue and problem that's industry-wide, they treat everything as if it's mission critical. I've had them fix big problems in 2 minutes. I have another issue that's being solved right now, and it's been about 5 days, and they're like, well, we know what's happening, we just don't know what the solution is or precisely what the problem is. They're very transparent and communicative of that. I have direct access to some of the top people in the company due to a unique position that I'm in with the company. So when problems occur, I don't go necessarily to support, I go to the senior management that's responsible for it.
Angel's the technology to a point where you can monitor a lot of that stuff remotely.
Yeah, so I'm talking more about sales side issues or construction side issues, but the system, I can absolutely monitor it remotely, and our company does.
Or have an app on the phone so you can see what your house is doing during the day.
They all do, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we have a web app and a phone app. Yep. Right, this is where we install, like I said, California, Nevada, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, most of the West Coast except the northern end and a good portion of the East Coast. Florida is a challenging market. We also do Hawaii and Puerto Rico. Florida is a challenging market because of insurance and hurricanes. Although Texas gets hurricanes, it's not as bad. This is just a layout of what things take time-wise. I will tell you those dates, those timeframes are not accurate for Reno. Our timeframes are a bit larger than that. This is more of an average for most other areas. All right, so here's the bottom line. I told you this, we're gonna triple the installs in the next 5 years. So 1 in 5 of your homeowners are buying solar in the next 5 years. Do you want them talking to door knockers from some fly-by-night company that comes by, or do you want them talking to someone who you personally have a reputation and a relationship with? You've got my phone number, you've got Steven's phone number, you've got Ariel's phone number. You can call us directly, ask us questions. We're always available to help you. If so, we want to be having this conversation with you and with your homeowners. Like I said, we have seen people get taken advantage of, and we don't like it. It chaps our ass. It drives us crazy when we hear stories of people who got ripped off for $14,000 more than they needed to pay. And we had a company come in and destroy their roof. Seen these horror stories. I don't like them. I always wish that I had found these people sooner. We would like to get with you to get in front of your homeowners, whether they're buying or selling, or thinking about it, or they bought it 5 years ago. Help them make an educated decision from a place of informed information with someone who is trustworthy and honest. Really simple. If you are listing a home with solar, if you're making an offer to buy a home with solar, if you have a contract, Ginger has called me many times. She called me, what, a year and a half ago saying, I have this scenario with this house and I'm not sure what to do with it. It's causing problems. And I gave her some recommendations. They ended up walking away from the deal, but that was part of the information that helped me go, you know what, this isn't working. There's something screwy going on here and it's complicating the process. Let's go find something else. Let us help you evaluate the system. We're happy to have the conversation on both sides. If you have a buyer, you're the seller, and you have a buyer that has some questions, send them to us. Like I said, we'll give them the straight and honest answer exactly as we did with you. You say we're free, but we'll reconsider that appraisal cost. Is that something you want to work with? When we're working with you in a relationship, we're more interested in the relationship. If it makes sense to charge for it, I'm happy to do that too. Whatever works well for you guys. Right, so we have an ambassador program. It's really simple. We set you up with a landing page on our installer's website. You can share with your homeowners and they can put their own information in, or with your colleagues, share it on Facebook or on Instagram. I just had a colleague do this just this afternoon. They put in a new home in California. It goes directly into my system. I have everything I need to call the customer, put the proposal together, and close the deal and get solar on their roof. I'm doing that as soon as I'm done here. That's down in Rockland. We want to have that reputation with you. We want to have that relationship with you. And we would love to sit down and talk to you. Have all our phone numbers and email addresses. You want to talk to us, let us know. We're gonna follow up with all of you as well and schedule a time to sit down. Answer more of your questions. I know you have more questions. You're gonna think about it. You have homes that you're thinking about. We can talk about how to share some referrals. And again, we're looking for realtors as well. Ginger and I have a long-standing relationship, but it doesn't mean she's the right person all the time for people that I want to be able to have that breadth of realtors and relationships to send you the right fit, when it's the right fit for you.
Quick questions. Say you had a roof that's 25 years old and you get all installed like that, 2, 3 years down the road, all of a sudden you need a new roof. What does that look like?
So typically, we want to see a minimum of 10 years life on the roof, or we will.
Who determines
replace it.
that?
Our installer does, or if we have a uncertainty, we'll get a roofer up there to look at it. Our installers are quite skilled. They've done roofing in the past, so they can look at it and assess it. But if I ever have a question, I'll call one of my roofing colleagues and say, I need an evaluation on the roof. And they know what they're looking at. If the roof has less than 10 years of life on it, we're gonna, especially with the warranty, we're gonna require the be replaced first. And then we have the discussion of, do we do it now or do we do it later? But when it comes to re-roofing, which I think is what your question is, it's not a problem. You just call us, we'll take the panels off. There's gonna be a labor fee to that. It's usually a few $100s per panel.
It's not like starting all over like they're doing.
No, so we leave the racking in place, just pull the panels and the wires off, and the roofers can work around that, and then we just put the system back together. Kind of like a Lego car. We'll take the pieces apart and leave the chassis there. Do whatever you need to do, and then we'll put the pieces back together. But it's absolutely not starting from scratch.
Okay.
How about cleaning our panels?
So we don't usually need to. I know there was a photo in there that showed kind of dirty panels. It's not going to impact them significantly.
Okay.
If they're a little dirty, you know, if you had a fire nearby and then it rained and you got a lot of soot on there, wash it off with that.
March, April, pollen, and it's all
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah, but we get enough rain here, even though we only get 7 inches a year, that they're clean enough.
It's okay.
Worst case, you take a, just like you would clean your car with a little cloth squeegee. Just hose it down and do it. There's companies that do that. And send you them, or pay one of the neighbor kids to get up on the roof. Or do it yourself.
Are there any programs out there where they'll do, if you, like, say somebody comes in? I was told there was, but I was never able to substantiate, where they'll come in and like, it's a package deal where they put a new roof on, they put panels on.
So we can do the roof with the solar system. We'll partner with, we have roofing companies that we partner with.
Okay.
And I can put it all together in one package. I can even finance the
I
roof.
guess that's the question.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you need a new roof, I will help you with that. I have roofers that have really good prices. And I can put it in the finance package as well, or you can pay cash for it separately. Yep, all viable options.
That's a really good question, actually. Yeah, a lot of people looking at doing roof as part of the project as well. I just had a project that is just about to get finished that they just re-roofed the whole south part of their home because the north was still like, it was new, but the south was old. So they did a partial re-roof for the south and their system got no time.
So that's the only part, my big house. Or studying my roof, it's got 10, 15 years, south probably a 5.
Yeah, south's getting bombarded.
Yeah, no, but we don't want to spend more money than we need
I
to.
was thinking of doing the roof max thing, if I'm gonna do panels, I might as well just change the whole thing.
We could look at roof max, but it's probably not going to give you enough life.
Gives you, well, yeah, it gives you like 5 years.
Yeah. I actually know the owner, the local roof.
Might be perfectly my pig, I don't know, I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, we can look at it. See what we suggest.
And roof life and condition is actually part of the site survey process as well. When the contract is signed, the very next thing that's taking place is a site survey. They assess the home, your main panel, whether or not that needs to be upgraded or modified in any way, the roof life, all the stuff is taken care of as part of the site survey process.
So that's the whole package, and you actually look at the panel to see.
For this is for new installs, so before the system is in place.
Right.
That's part of the whole process.
There's a lot of the, like West Carson, there's a I think the name of the panel, there's a whole bunch of them that as the houses sell, they have to rip the panels out because they found they've been found down that road.
Really? Color panels?
Yeah, I think they have red or yellow panels, or yeah, red or yellow,
They're blue.
I don't know, I've done a couple.
One of the things we talk about anytime we sit down at solar, one of the very first questions we ask is, how old is your roof? If it's less than 10 years old, you're usually good. If you have an issue in less than 10 years old, there's another problem. If your roof is 10 years to 20 years, we're going to do a physical inspection. And it's likely that we're at least going to need to do some minor repairs, if not a full roof replacement. If your roof is 20 years old, the likelihood is we're going to have to replace it.
Yep.
And that's for asphalt too. Tile roofs are a little bit different. Anything over about 10 to 12 years on the tile roofs, and sometimes the underlayment gets shredded and we have to do a repair on that. But I've had tile roofs that were 17 years old and they were in fine condition.
Tile's supposed to be almost lifetime.
Well, the tiles are not what actually waterproofs the roof. It's the underlayment underneath. And that underlayment does get shredded over time. It doesn't mean your roof is imminently leaking. It just means that I can't warranty it until we repair
What about metal roofs?
it. Metal roofs are stupid easy.
The easiest.
They last, metal roofs last for 50 years without any significant degradation.
Thank you, Angel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. We'll be in touch with all of you.